Hi, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Carolina Waranca. I am the founder and managing partner of 1504 Ventures. We are a pre-seed fund focused on LATAM and the emerging markets with a little bit of exposure to the United States. One thing, as being a former founder, that is important for entrepreneurs to know is who would you partner with? So for me, it's important upfront to share my values and a little bit about my story before I go into the thesis. So I feel very strongly that everyone has genius in them, but many founders, particularly those from emerging markets, have to travel many pathways that are much more difficult than others because of the lack of access, resource networks that they may have. 1504 is a very intentional name. It represents a zip code or a postal code. 15 is where my father was born in a working class neighborhood in Lima, Peru. 04 is the zip code of where my mother was born in the highlands of the Andes in Peru. So the idea is where you start is not where you end. And that's the aspiration that I look for in founders I want to invest in. In terms of my background, I am a solo GP at 1504, but I have a pretty strong track record. 150, over 150 investments in both startups and venture funds. Because Latinas can do everything, I run 1504 for my direct investments, but I'm also the general partner of a fund of funds called First Close Partners, which invest in emerging but also very oversubscribed funds across the world. And that's a very unique point because it means I have insight into funds and also a unique access to downstream capital. And I also happened to start my investing career at a fund called K4 Capital. They were one of the first investors in Uber and scouted for Lightspeed focused on Latin America and serve on the board of Latinas in Tech, which is 13,000 technical and product managers that are Latinas working at high growth startups in the region. So what is it that we do? We invest in exceptional founders, but our thesis is around investing in tech founders who are building technologies to empower the low and moderate income populations in the US and the Americas. It's really important to know that 60%, so the majority of my investment dollars will go to Latin America. That's not always the case for many US investors that may have 10% or a 5% allocation. This is 60%. I'm unapologetic about pre-seed, and that means pre-product, pre-launch, very early. I don't lead rounds yet. So the average check size is $100,000. And we're flexible with instruments because having been a founder and having cultural context of being in the region, we'll do Cayman, we'll also do Delaware LLC. But my superpower, because I think investment funds can't do everything, is about placing top technical talent and product talent at the startups I partner with. So this is what empowerment for low to moderate income people in the Americas looks like for my thesis. It's really three pathways. One is this idea of learning to work. Another pathway is financial wellness to wealth creation. And the other one is mindset to well-being. And here you can just see a sampling. So I'm a generalist investor, just as long as they fit into these pathways. And here are some notable investments that I have made. Flevo, for instance, is a stripe of education. It was Delaware LLC. $400,000 round. I made an investment. Hello Guru was started by the first employee of Rappi. I invested at Concept. Odetta and Control Hub, both Mexican startups. Savvy is in Africa, which is a B2B supply chain marketplace on the path to be a unicorn. But these are just a sample of a few of investments that fit into the thesis so you get a better understanding if you fit in. These are some investors that I've had the pleasure of investing in alongside Sequoia, Lightspeed, like I said, where I was a scout, and Andreessen, and first round partners as well. So in terms of criteria, very high level, there are 5. It's important for me, for the founder to have strong alignment. So they have to fit the thesis, the scale of the vision. And one thing, as a former founder, I wasn't ambitious when I first started out. It has to be a really ambitious vision, and someone has to have very clear thought process and how it is that they're going to have a plan to execute on that vision. Team is important, but team having insight. I think a lot of funds focus on did they experience the problem? I'm contrary to that. I want to know what unique insight, what secret sauce you have, even if you haven't experienced the problem. Unique business model innovation is something important. And can this company become a unicorn? As I said, my superpowers really are three. The strongest is on the hiring piece, then fundraising, because I also run a fund of funds. So there is an opportunity for deal flow with those funds, and then network and placement. So who are the people that have entrusted their money with me and who support me? I just want to highlight my former bosses, Mitch and Frida Kapor, but also Teresa Gao and Josh Koppelman, who each manage more than $1 billion AUM, and they're on the Midas list, which is the list of the 100 most well-known and best investors in the world. Between them, they've been on the Midas list 20 times. Federico Chester, who was a former Wharton classmate of mine, who heads up business development, LATAM Uber. Sadia, who's early at Facebook. She was early product manager there and is a marketplace expert. And then my mentor, Monica Lozano, the only Latina who sits on the board of Apple. And last but not least, TJ, who heads up the Other Co. The Other Co is an offshoot of something called Outcast. Outcast was the PR agency for Facebook, but it also was the PR agency for Andreessen Horowitz. He was a founding member there. These are relationships that I've had over 15 years. So it's not just about having a network, but it's about having a deep network that the founders that I have can get access to. And my commitment for Latin America is something that is not overnight. It's something that's been in my DNA. These are pictures even from the earlier 2000s. And I am passionate about this region. So if you're interested in learning more or want to connect, please go to the website at 1504ventures.com. Thank you.